and Lydia Contraceptive. With Lydia, you truly decide.
Welcome to The Point of View. This is your favorite current affairs show on television here in Ghana on City TV. We usually bring you the right guests. We ask them relevant questions on issues that matter to you. But every now and again, we do analysis and we bring you angles and insights into things that we consider important. Tonight is one of such nights, and I'll be making a lot of statements which you can agree or disagree with or share your views on. If you want to contribute to the show, send me your comments on the WhatsApp number on the screen. And if you are watching on social media as well, be free to join us with your views. I'll tell you what I'm doing when I come back. Welcome back to The Point of View. So tonight is the tale of the tape. This week, the NDC flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama, named Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang, former Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast, and also the former Minister of Education, as his running mate. We're doing a comparison between herself and Dr. Mahamudu Bawumi. But I need to tell you that The Point of View tonight is brought to you by Airtel Tigo. Life is simple. We'll tell you more about that later on during the show. All right, so we're going to do a comparison between the two running mates in a very interesting way. We're going to compare them along 5 areas, as in what they bring to the ticket. Because obviously on the ballot, you wouldn't have Naana Opoku-Agyemang, nor would you have Dr. Mahamudu Bawumi. We're going to analyze this from the perspective of who they are personally, what they've achieved professionally, politically, what are their strengths and weaknesses and threats, and then we'll also look at their potential bases. What is the base that they bring to the ticket? And then we'll also tell you what risks having each of them brings. Of course, Bawumi is vice president, so it will not be the same type of analysis. But let me know what you make of the analysis we do throughout the show. And we have some very interesting, we have what we call their top 3 videos. I'm going to show you some interesting things on them as they've either done interviews, done campaigns, or been seen in public life. So it promises to be a nice conversation. Let me know your thoughts on all the things I say. So it's personal, then we'll do professional, we'll do a lot of politics, and then we'll also do some of the appearances at programs and platforms. So let me start with the new face, Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang. So she was named this week by John Dramani Mahama, and I'm sure we all know she's Fanti, and that she's 68 years old, born November 22, 1951. Started schooling in the Eastern region. We got some interesting stories from her people around this. Was actually lived in Sogakope for a bit before moving to the Eastern region. Attended a brief Presby Girls before moving to Wesley Girls in 1964, where eventually she became the head girl. And if you know anything about secondary schools in Ghana, Wesley Girls is really like the creme de la creme of secondary schools. Studied a B.Ed English and French, UCC, 1977. This is a champion time. She was in the university, and she's a mother of 3 children. She has grandchildren, and she's divorced. So those are the initial thoughts. Now, a lot of people have been commenting about this picture on social media today. So who are these 3 people? The gentleman on the left is the firstborn. I happen to study economics with him in the same class. We're in the same study group at Legon. Well, he went on to do a PhD in economics from the University of Wisconsin. I'm sitting here talking. So that's Kweku. There's a very interesting Facebook post about people saying that Bawumi cannot even debate the son of Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang. Trust me, he hasn't said anything about that. This is just people putting that up. But Kweku is an economist, PhD in economics, University of Wisconsin-Madison. We're in the same economics class at Legon. We're in the same hall as well, Legon Hall. Then there's Kwabena, is the gentleman on the right, on the picture we showed you earlier, the one in the waistcoat. And Kwabena has a PhD in English literature from the West Virginia University. And then Adjoa also has a PhD in comparative literature, University of Toronto. So all three went to Legon first before they went on to do their PhD. So we'll talk more about the family later. Let me talk a bit more about her professional qualification, then I'll come to Bawumi and show you a bit about Bawumi's family. So these are the three. Kweku on the left of your screen, Kwabena on the right, and Adjoa in the middle of your screen. So Prof. Naana Opoku-Agyemang is a Fulbright scholar. Fulbright scholars are really US-sponsored academics who undertakes a very prestigious scholarship. Some people think it's the most prestigious of all the fellowships that the US offers in developing countries. But there are Fulbrights who come in, and there are Fulbrights who also go out. She's Fulbright scholar. And she became ASO Prof, as they call it, in 2001. And by 2006, she became a full professor. Senior lecturer in 1993. So that's her background. English department head, UCC 2000 to 2002. So when Professor Mills had lost to Kufuor and Kufuor became president, she was teaching at the University of Cape Coast. She became Dean of the Faculty of Arts within that same period, 2001. Dean of Graduate Studies 2002 to 2008. And before that, she had done a graduate lectureship in Ohio. And of course, she had done some stuff with the School of International Training. Key point, Vice Chancellor, UCC, 2008 to 2012. A lot of people think that being a VC is a big position. Universities have huge budgets. VCs are very powerful. In fact, later on I'll talk about the Universities Bill and how that can play in this election, because a lot of the university professors are not happy with the tertiary education bill, and people perceive that this government is trying to take back the control. I remember interviewing Napo and asking him some questions around the university, and he says, well, the universities are semi-autonomous, so I can't do too much about them. We don't know whether that's part of the reason why the bill was brought in. The government feels it's a very good bill that's going to help reform and help our universities to be better. Some of the academics disagree. Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences don't agree. And we don't know what Prof will say. It may become a major campaign issue. We'll talk about her campaign issues later on. So VC for 4 years. And then, of course, she then became the Minister for Education. The Minister for Education. So that's a key point there. That's from January 2013 to January 2017. Now, within this period as well, there's an interesting photo I'll show you of her days, because in the mid-90s, Radio Gold was trying to counter Kweku Sechiado's front page. So Kweku Sechiado was the main thing on radio in the 90s, and he was hosting a program on Fridays. Radio Gold also came up with a show and had her as the host. And there's a couple of priceless photos we found, thanks to Radio Gold, of her time as a radio show host. And if my guys have the picture, they'll put it up for you. Very interesting photographs of Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang. Now, do you know who the guys on the flanking her? Who can guess? So the gentleman standing to their right, that's of course Kweku Sechiado. Kweku Sechiado. And then of course to her left, at the extreme left, is Opoku-Agyemang. I'm sure you know who that is. The man who tried to be president against Mahama, former trade minister Opoku-Agyemang. Then, of course, you have a diplomat. There was a diplomat involved there, standing on the right. And then, of course, the bottom picture as well, Babo, the man with the mustache, in her blue, the blue picture, the one she wears blue, there's Babo there, and some other interesting people. Now, she used to host a show on Radio Gold. And some people thought that that was her first entry into the NDC of things. We're not really sure if that is something we can talk about now. But those were her days in Radio Gold. Later on in the show, I'll show you an interview on Radio Gold on the same show she used to host, but this time she was being interviewed. So this is in my initial comments about her. I'll come back to her later. Let me take you to Bawumi. And if you know the names of the people on the picture, please put the picture up again. I want to do something. Anybody who knows the gentleman on the right in the bottom picture, let me know who he is. Of course, then there's one on the left as well. In the bottom picture, it's only Babu I recognize, standing left. And in the top picture, the man standing next to her in the yellow, between herself and Opoku-Agyemang, who can guess? That's ABA Fuseni. of Alaji and Alaji. ABF Hussein, yes. ABF Hussein is the MP for Sagnarigu. He was for many years the night editor, foreign affairs editor for Daily Graphic. ABF Hussein, formidable, the man full of proverbs. He says, he's the person who says that when you see a house has burnt down, you can't ask whether the roof is still standing. That's ABF Hussein, amazing guy. And of Kweku Baku, the indefatigable Kweku Baku. So those of you who know more about these things than I do, let me know who the guys in the bottom photo are. Apart from Babo, who else is there? Okay, let's talk about Bawumi personally. Who is Mahmoud Bawumi? So Bawumi was introduced to Ghana's political scene in August 2008. Richard Sky has a very interesting Facebook post on Bawumi, which I'll show you later on. When he was introduced, some of the NPP people said Bawu Hwai, Bawu Ben. They didn't know who he was. But he studied in Tamale. Now, Tamale Secondary School is one of the two big schools in the northern region. There's Tamale, and then there's Ghana Secondary. So John Mahama went to Ghana, the other one, Ghana Secondary, Ghana National. And then Bawumi went to Tamale. Sakasaka Primary School. Of course, you know that Sakasaka Park in Tamale. So he's a true Tamale boy. And he's married with 4 kids. And in analyzing his strengths, his family comes in very strong. The lady to the right is Hajia Samira Bawumi. It is our argument that one of Bawumi's strengths is actually the lady sat to his right. And I'll explain that later on during the interview. I have a very interesting video of Hajia Samira on campaign trail. And some have described it as a very formidable political weapon. A formidable political weapon. So that's the family of Bawumi. When Bawumi was announced as running mate for Akufo-Addo in 2008, he was 46 years old. Relatively unknown. He was a deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana, but that's not a very prominent position necessarily politically. He was 46 years old, relatively young at the time. I remember I interviewed him via a Google Hangout, and he was very nervous and very shy. But he's now so much matured into politics. Some say Bawumi will feature. So there you have it, advisor to Central Bank Governor. He was a special assistant to the venerated Paul Akwa. That's how he rose through the ranks to become a deputy governor. Kufuor appointed him in 2006 to be deputy governor. And then, of course, resident rep for African Development Bank in Zimbabwe. So his trajectory is more on the economic side of things. Lectured in economics, monetary policy, started as an intern at the IMF, assistant professor of economics, Baylor University, and then, of course, returned to Ghana to work at the Bank of Ghana in 2000, became special assistant to Paul Akwa. Paul Akwa being one of the most respected governors we've ever had, worked on the renomination, a skilled policymaker and a technocrat. But Akufo-Addo will convert him into a technopole, to borrow the words of Lloyd Amwa. Named running mate in 2008, was 45 years old. They lost narrowly to Mills in 2008, lost again in 2012 election petition, carved a niche for himself as the brainy economist, spoke to the middle class very strongly, and the rest, as they say, is history. In the interim, he's been guest lecturer, Central University, professor of economic governance, worked at the African Development Bank as well, and he's been vice president. He's Ghana's 7th vice president under the 4th Republic. He has a number of publications, one of which is prominent, the Monetary Policy and Financial Sector Reform in Ghana, Ghana's Experience. Married to Samira Ramadan, herself from a very strong political family, her father being Alhaji Ramadan, and of course related to Abu Ramadan, and then Adamu Mohammed Ramadan, the candidate for NDC for Adenta. So this is Dr. Bawumi's family. So now let me show you a couple of quick videos before I come to their political comparison. So Dr. Bawumi and then Naana Opoku-Agyemang. So in analyzing the two, it's very clear that they are not very similar in terms of their strengths, right? Now, the strengths of Naana Opoku-Agyemang being the fact that she brings freshness to the Mahama ticket. She brings freshness to the Mahama ticket. Because the Mahama ticket is known. We know Mahama. But this is somebody who's not been put on the national level for a flag bearer or running mate before. This is the first time a woman is on the ticket of either NDC or NPP. So it's big, it's fresh. That's the main strength she brings. And of course, personal integrity. We've not heard anybody accuse Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang of corruption yet. So you can say that she has no known corruption baggage. And some say that the Mahama ticket needed that because in 2016, the Akufo-Addo team really hammered Mahama on two things: corruption and incompetence. Corruption and incompetence. So her personal integrity may help the Mahama ticket, even though she's not on the ballot sheet. A running mate is part of the package. And I will explain the difference between her and Mr. Ataf soon and the other previous running mates. But she brings freshness to the ticket, no known corruption baggage. She has knowledge and experience in education. Education is a very important sector. Although this strength can be questioned because education is not the NDC's strongest message. NDC's message is infrastructure. At least the leading message, if you listen to NDC people, Mahama is the man who did the infrastructure. NDC hardly talks about Mahama's educational accomplishments. So the fact that her major area is education can pose a problem, particularly because the NPP's main message is education, free SHS. So your running mate's area of expertise is not your party's major message. That could lead to some dissonance and a problem. So she has a lot of work to do convincing us why she thought free SHS wasn't possible, and Akufo-Addo has done it. So even though she knows the sector, to be VC, you have respect in the sector. She understands the sector. We will show you some videos of her speaking about education. She got 3 ovations. She's very articulate in education. But the question is, on the campaign trail, what will she say? What memorable policies did she put in place that the party can use to push her agenda? So the education is a very difficult area. Although some people say that because of some of the controversies with the tertiary education bill and some of the challenges of the gold track system, there are people who are dissatisfied with aspects of education. But as a whole, free SHS seems to be MPP's major message. She has a big job to do dealing with this. Now, in terms of her qualification, I think she's qualified, right? I mean, I haven't seen many men, not to talk about, I mean, how many people have the record she has? Her original CV I was given had over 60 pages. I couldn't even finish reading it before the show. So I got the abridged version. So in terms of qualification, leadership experience, Vice Chancellor is one of the most important positions in Ghana for a public university. So she's strong in terms of her leadership experience. Vice Chancellor and Minister. In fact, if you look at positions people have held coming to the Vice Presidential nomination, I think she's one of the strongest because for most people, by the time they are put on the ticket, I mean, look at Bawumi, for example. Bawumi had to grow into the position. He was an unknown political quantity. He's grown very well, but arguably, if you look at Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang, VC, Education Minister, Chancellor of another university, Dean, School of Graduate Studies, founding member of CDD, headed departments, leadership track record is impeccable. Leadership track record is impeccable. You can't argue with that. Everywhere she's gone to, from senior prefect, senior lecturer, head of department, dean, guest lecturer, vice chancellor, chancellor, everything. So she has it. So in terms of leadership qualifications, she's strong. Okay. Now, one of her potential strengths is what we call her possible middle class appeal. And I'm going to show you this video to prove this. So she was speaking at an educational policy conference, sat next to Ban Ki-moon, the UN Secretary General. Listen, and this room is full of educated people, international people. It's a conference that they held in Ghana somewhere in 2015. Listen to her talk about education in the local language, the importance of mathematics. Quite interesting. Just watch this.
Thank you very much. I am myself in the humanities. And I think I'm in the most interesting of all the disciplines. I'm in literature. But believe me, artists need mathematics. Musicians need physics. It is at the basis of everything. It is just the way we have taught it, as if it's a rarefied subject away from ourselves. Let me use a very practical example of a child whose mother processes palm oil, from the nut to the oil. If this is not science, I don't know what science is. But you will not find it in the textbook. You will not find it in the lab. And therefore, this education that this child is getting has very little impact. This is just an example. But I think that there are many, many more. So it is not about the emphasis on science and math at the detriment of others. We're talking about entrepreneurship. We're talking about industrialization. We need these subjects. But more importantly, is the medium through which the subject is taught. I've heard Dr. Kim talk about Africa in 2015 compared to Korea. Nothing stopped Korea from using their language. By using their language, it didn't stop them from making the vehicles and the TVs and the phones that we import. Because Koreans were taught in a language they understood, education picked up. Because we are teaching our children a language they can't even follow, we are drawing them back. So there are...
So that was a quick excerpt. So in terms of appeal, clearly, when she's speaking in a panel setting, she's pretty good. In fact, this video, the whole video is 6 minutes. She got 3 standing ovations in that video. When she spoke about local language education, spoke about the importance of mathematics, very formidable. And of course, in terms of communication skill, she's improving on the political stage when it comes to giving speeches. She seems to be more comfortable in panel settings. Now, she's coming up against a formidable political weapon, because if Akufo-Addo is in Tamale campaigning and Mahama is in Choko campaigning, Bawumi will probably be in Sunyani, and she'll have to be probably in Ho. So if Akufo-Addo is speaking Hausa or Ga, Mahama is also speaking as many languages he can speak, and Bawumi is also doing his thing. She also has to show her strength on the stage, and I think the key question then becomes, can she thrive in that setting? Can she thrive in that setting? I'll come to that in a bit. But so in terms of her communication skills, in a panel setting, she's very good. She speaks nicely. Most of her videos have been in either interviews or panel sessions. But we don't have any memorable videos of her on a campaign trail. And NDC has been in campaign mode for a while. So that's an important question. How come we haven't seen her in campaign trail? Of course, as I said, when Bawumi was appointed in 2008, he had no prior experience. He's going into the job. But he was 46 or 45. Now she's 68. So whilst Bawumi has had 2 electoral cycles to hone his craft to become the machine he's become, does she have the time to do the kind of thing? Let me show you something Bawumi did. Show me Bawumi campaign 2013. This is after 2012 election petition thereabouts. NPP conference in Sunyani. See him go on the stage and see the kind of things he does.
Years of the NPP with limited resources, we established the National Youth Employment Program to provide opportunities for the jobs for the youth. The school feeding program to provide food to basic pupils in schools. Capitation grant to make education affordable and accessible. The free metro bus ride for children in basic school. National Health Insurance Scheme to provide accessible health care to the population. The free maternal care for all pregnant women under the NHIS. The introduction of a metro mass transport service for urban areas to provide subsidized transport for commuters. Introduction of the Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty program, the LEAP program, under which welfare grants are paid to the extreme poor. We saw massive infrastructure development, roads, schools, hospital, and water. In contrast, Mr. Chairman, This NDC government over the last 7 years has had at its disposal $200 billion Ghana cedis from taxes, loans, and oil. This is compared to the 20 billion we have. But what have we seen? What have been its achievements so far? The NDC has recently produced another green book to catalog its so-called achievements in terms of projects undertaken. The very thing our president, John Dramani Mahama, described in the past as an exercise in mediocrity. What is interesting is that after 7 years in power, and after having over 200 billion Ghana cedis at its disposal, many of the NDC projects in this catalogue are still either on the drawing board or are artistic impressions. Many of these projects are riddled with corruption. You've seen the car power deal. You've seen the Ameri power deal. You've seen the recent Kumasi International Airport. The runway rehabilitation alone, a rehabilitation of a runway cost this country $23.8 million. And as I said, I compared it to the proposed airport in Ho. The whole airport in Ho that they are proposing is to cost $25 million. So was the runway in Kumasi paved with gold? We've also seen the rebranding of Metro Mass Transit buses for 3.6 million Ghana cedis. I will not talk about SADA, JIDA, Wayo, the National Service, Rockshell, and all of that.
So this was actually 2013. He hadn't even entered full gear. I mean, some of his 2016 things are very serious. So Bawumi has become a veritable political weapon. I'll talk about Bawumi's strength shortly, but let me wrap up with Professor Naana. So she's fresh, she's clean, she's a woman. That's a strength, because for a lot of people who want something different, there's a lot of despondency with our politics. So having a woman on the ticket, and in fact, somebody sent me a video before this show where she said in the countries of the world, the top 7 countries handling COVID-19, all of them were run by women. So there's a feeling that where the men are feel the women can do better. That could be a very important strength, because there's quite a lot of good women leaders, New Zealand and other parts of the world, doing formidable work, South Korea and things. So some people feel that she brings that level of wow factor to the ticket. That's a very important point. The other issue is, since Professor Mills' death, NDC has not really had somebody they've tried to project as a moral voice necessarily. I mean, Mr. Atta was brought in more for his technocratic backing, because don't forget, Mills had died suddenly, and there was a lot of confusion. Mr. Atta had been known, former deputy minister, he's an economist, he was a governor of the Bank of Ghana. He needed a safe, steady pair of hands to come and support Mahama, to provide people a bit of continuity. Okay, he wasn't quite your Mills, but he was brought in more for his safe pair of hands, technocratic knowledge. It was more like a technopole. He was a lecturer and economist, but he was also governor. And then he was NDC, but he wasn't mainly on the rally field. So Mr. Atta wasn't brought in for his campaign finesse, because Mahama himself was pretty good on the campaign. But if you listen to President Mahama, he introduced Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang, he said, a God-fearing woman. So I think they're going to push her morality and her honesty and her cleanliness as part of the ticket. So that's going to be an interesting aspect of she seems to be a confidant. You don't put somebody who you don't trust in your educational sector. So she has the ear of the president. She compliments him well. Mahama is one of the few running mates at the time who already had experience with elections. He was a 2-time MP for Bole Bamboy, good looking, formidable. And again, Mahama himself was seen as a moderate when he was initially appointed. A lot of people said, oh, we love Mahama. When I was in Lagos, a lot of my NPP friends said they would vote for Mahama if he was ever the flag bearer. But Mahama has actually moved, because once you become the candidate, you have to go on the offensive. And I think that's one of the questions we'll ask of Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang, in terms of whether she can go on the offensive, because she seems to be more cerebral and thrives in conversation. But there are hidden strengths there too. Some people feel that if you unleash her in the marketplaces, she could be very convincing. In fact, she was with Emisata throughout most of the Fanti areas. She speaks Fanti pretty well, speaks Twi as well. She does well with French. She understands Ga. We don't know if she can campaign in Ga. So again, if you look at Bawumi speaks his Mamprugu language and speaks English. But Bawumi doesn't speak any Southern language very seriously. So that could be a strength for her in the sense that, well, she could go to Malata market, speak to the market women in Twi. She could go to Kotograwa market, speak Fanti, they'll hear what she says. She understands a bit of Ga. We don't know how well she speaks it. Understands French. That's more for the diplomatic side of things. So even though her formidability in campaign may not be as Bawumi, it depends on how the team sets her out. But clearly, when it comes to the rough and tumble of campaign, Bawumi is in a comfortable lead, because if I start, in fact, I even have videos of Bawumi's wife, Mrs. Bawumi, on campaign. It's just incredible. When we come back, I'll show you some of that. Now, when we come back, I'll show you some of Bawumi's other strengths, and then we'll do what I call the potential basis, because I think this year's election, the middle class is a key prize to be won. The NPP turned the middle class and convinced the middle class. And I think the middle class was fed up with John Mahama and the NDC, honestly, from the Muntie 3 to all the issues about the tweet when people were gathering, Occupy Flagstaff House, the Doomsaw issues, dead goods. People were just tired. And the middle class really went for NPP. There are people in the NDC who feel they could go back for that middle class, and they think Prof could bring the middle class back. So analyze their respective bases. What do they add to the ticket in terms of demographics of voting? In the meantime, what do you make of our analysis so far? Let's hear from you. Send us your comments on WhatsApp number on the screen. This is The Point of View. We'll be right back.
Extra. To get extra. Be extra with Airtel Tigo's new call and data bundles. Live extra only on Airtel Tigo.
Dial *111# now.
Airtel Tigo. Life is simple.
This one is for all the children. If you want to learn mathematics.
I need your siblings to go online and study, but they've used up all our internet data for the month.
Get them Asanka.
This?
No. Asanka is a Wi-Fi device that delivers preloaded educational content for KG, primary, JHS, and SHS without the use of the internet and without the use of other data costs. You can order online and have it delivered to your homes, and also one Asanka can support up to 20 plus devices.
And you don't need the internet?
No.
Wow.
We succeed with Asanka.
For more information and to purchase, please visit myasanka.com or call 026 57 33 200.
Ghanaians don't always agree, and that's fine as long as we respect each other and play by the rules. It doesn't matter who you vote for. What matters is that you make your voice heard and that every vote counts. A new clean voters registry ensures that no matter who you vote for, democracy always wins. Go out to register today.
Welcome back to The Point of View, and this show is brought to you by Airtel Tigo Life Simple. Quick correction, around the 9th minute I said Kweku Sechiado when I was referring to Kweku Baku in the original Radio Gold photo, but Kweku Sechiado was hosting the front page on Joy FM, and that was the time that she was hosting her political program on Radio Gold. That was in the mid-90s. So far, I don't know if anybody has given me the names of the. Put the picture on the screen again. The bottom picture. I want to test the knowledge of my viewers on that. Who those people surrounding her are, apart from the first one, ABF Husseini and Kuku Baku and Koyes. Babo is on the left. Who's on the right? Who's the other man on the right? I'll give a prize to whoever gets it correct. Okay, let's talk about Bawumi's strengths, and then I'll come to their possible political basis. All right. Now, we all know Bawumi, right? When Bawumi was initially chosen, and there's a very interesting write-up on Richard Sky's Facebook page. Let me read some parts of it. It says, the coming to age of a doubted politician. Even at the NPP Mammoth rally the following weekend in Takoradi, to introduce Bawumi to the party's rank and file, many members and sympathizers were still not happy about the choice Naana had made. Look at what he's doing on the stage. He can't even do the kangaroo dance, they said. This is Richard Sky's recollection of 2008. Look at what he's doing on the stage. Very embarrassing, said one prominent MP who stood by me as I did live commentary on the packed rally for City FM listeners. The MP's comments off air came as Bawumi was called to mount the political stage for the first time since his nomination, as Daddy Lumbe's timeless Nana Oyewina tune powered the mammoth crowd into indescribable excitement. Look, he can't even do the kangaroo dance, another MP added. That election year, the NPP had adopted the famous kangaroo dance invented by the Black Stars during the CAN 2008 in Ghana. But no problem at all. We will teach him, Bawumi, the ropes and make him the kind of solid politician the NDC will fear, the MP said quietly. Of course, history, as they say, the rest is history. Bawumi's strength, knowledge of economic issues. It's very clear that Bawumi is one of the people who made ordinary people understand economics. Particularly from his 2012 lectures, a lot of people started understanding how the economy related to them in very simple terms, and he could taunt the NDC to their annoyance. Now, Bawumi also has personal charisma. So I typically will moderate programs where they invite either the vice president or the president, and Bawumi has a way of connecting which people like. So for whatever reason, he seems to connect to people in a way on a one-on-one level. I've already said that he's formidable on the campaign trail, but I think one of his most powerful weapons is actually sat next to him in the photo we showed you earlier. Let me show you Mrs. Bawumi in 2016 on the campaign trail. This is his wife on the campaign trail.
We will remember that they haven't sold doom so after 5 years of hardship. We
So that is a very serious partner to have. So again, you can have two Bawomias campaigning, and that's something the NDC needs to deal with, because, I mean, you saw the crowd, you saw their reaction, and Samira speaks Hausa, she speaks Fulfulde, I think the language is called, and of course she speaks a bit of Twi and English. So she will be formidable, and therefore, in terms of campaign value, it's very clear that the incumbent running mate slot have a lot to offer. Now, let's talk about potential bases before I come to weaknesses. I think that the issue of bases is a very key part of the discussion. So what base then does Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang potentially have? Okay, what is the base that she brings to the table? I think she has the potential of bringing women. We actually have some photos of her with a Mr. Arthur in marketplaces during the 2016 campaign. And as I've already pointed out, nobody really knows how Ghanaians will react to a woman on the ticket. But it's a very key base she could develop if she gets support from key people in the party to speak in the right way to our market women. Because the economy is always a big part of the discussion. So that's a potential base. Academia is an interesting base because, as I've already said, even though education is a very important message for the NPP, the universities have been restive. So University of Education, whenever have had challenges. KNUST, look at the demonstration that happened there. Okay, and then look at the public university bill. There's some level of, I won't call it animosity, but certainly a bit of coolness in the relationship between the NPP and the university class. We don't know if she can capitalize on that. We've already seen a video of UCC people presumably celebrating. We don't know whether that video is true. But as a former VC, there could be some solidarity there. Now, we've already said the middle class is a key part of this year's election. And the middle class is very easily dissatisfied. So these are typical English-speaking people who would tune into a radio station like City FM or Joy FM, call in, complain about poor roads. Some of them would speak nice English. Some of these people easily get fed up with governments. We don't know if the fact that she is not your attack dog type of politician will appeal to them or not. But it appears she could develop that middle class. Actually, the middle class is up for grabs. And again, we need to say that Bawumi, being the younger person when he was initially brought in for Akufo-Addo, some people thought he would do well with the youth because he was 45, 46 at the time. So maybe Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang, one of the reasons for putting on the ticket could be to work the middle class. We don't know if they would warm up to her completely, but it's a potential base she could develop. And then again, the central region. The central region is a very moody region because they don't tend to vote on the basis of where you are from. We've already said this before. 2004 rejected NDC. 2008 went for Mills powerfully. They retained NDC in 2012, rejected NDC in 2016. She's from Komenda, right? She was born in Cape Coast. So very similar to both Mills and Emisata in that sense. So she's a Fantis. Whether that means the Fantis will vote for her, we don't know, because the Fantis don't vote necessarily on the basis of where you are coming from. But it's a base to be developed. It's a base she can develop. There she is with the Misata. This is some part of the central region. And the other photos in the separate markets. So this is a potential base she could develop. But then again, a lot will depend on how the team deploys her. Okay, so those are the four bases she could bring. Because she's an unproven quantity on the national stage, these are all potential bases. But let's look at Bawumi in terms of Bawumi's base. Bawumi's base is pretty clear. Bawumi is very strong in the north. Although Bawumi's influence in the north is tempered by Mahamudu's own popularity in the north. But if you go particularly to the 5 Mamprugu constituencies, I mean, you hardly hear even a politician in the Mamprugu area, Wale Nalerigu, attacking Bawumi directly because they are very proud of him. So during elections, he's really embedded in the north. So Bawumi's base, at least northeast, if not the whole of the north, the northeast region, and other parts of the north. And of course, Bawumia brings the Muslim vote. Again, it's an interesting dynamic because NDC typically does well in Zongos, right? NDC does well in Zongos. But Bawumia seems to have endeared himself to the Muslim voters pretty well. And he would want to consolidate that in the coming election. So, and then, as I said, in 2012 to 2016, Bawumia spoke economics in a way everybody could understand. So he's pretty good with the middle class. Although these days he's becoming very political. He's almost like he's being dragged to the extreme part of politics. So you would typically have a launch of a program, and Bawumia will spend 3 minutes finishing Mahama. Whether the middle class will get angry with that, we don't know. The base likes that. The NPP hawks, they love that. When Bawumia goes on the offensive against the NDC. In fact, there's a video, I don't have time. There's a video we have where we were doing a policy program and he just ripped into the NDC, said he didn't understand the economy, and he really went at them. We don't know whether this middle class vote and Bawumia's increasing attacks against the NDC would backfire with the middle class. And of the 4 people we have discussed, the president, the vice, John Mahama, and then of course Professor, he's the one who's closest to young people. He's 56, which itself says something. In Ghana, if you are not 60, you are still a youth. So he's still, I mean, he's been trying to position himself as the technology guy, although the results of that have been very mixed. Okay, so there's a number of technology projects he's tried to initiate, and they've not really sort of taken off very well. Now, let me show you 2 things. Possible attacks the 2 would get. Let me start with Prof. Look at Napo on Peace FM. This is Napo on Peace FM. Prof is going to face problems defending some of her educational track record. Listen to Napo.
One say and check your lunch free SHS, Sabi, Prof. Bekase, Yesemi Mako Kasa Etia, former Minister of Education. Bankasa Etia dum. Kwame, me the records. Ede Kasai. And I'm sure say, ye budget 2 years before budget I ever lunch free SHS in September. Now, my predecessor called radio station said, "Yaye wakadre." So kaya satan. Na ye free SHS live budgeter, Minister of Finance to neko first kind of way. They need to be ye the Bugana for. And ye lunch free SHS September 16th already. West Africa Exam School. And what Penino Professor or better than Nano. So free SHS the government started in a progressive free SHS. And what now will be the interview? And I'm saying, now, mommy, before I let you free SHS, or say, oh, policy. So, okay, I want to be we have seen no policy for this free SHS, neither is there any budget line. Yeah, launching the idea, also, oh, now starting free SHS as progressive free SHS. And so now starting progressive free SHS there. Where is your policy? Because then why are you asking me for a policy?
Because there must have been one I should
There
follow.
must have been one before you started. Now, Mama said they're all kasado. She has become an embarrassment to it.
So this is Napo, and there's even more. There's a part where he even said that she left a lot of debts in the sector. So this is an area she has to deal with. It's going to come. You've already heard Wabia Samuel. We've heard Majority Leader. So they are circling. And can she deal with that type of pressure? Bawumia has been dealing with that for years. Listen to one of Bawumia's best friends. He's called Adongo. This is a very typical NDC attack on Bawumia.
His Excellency, the former president, talks about the depreciation of the city as at today. As at today. If anybody goes to the market today to do a transaction, they will not be quoting December 2017 depreciation for the person. They will not be quoting 1993 depreciation figures. They will be quoting depreciation as at today. And as at today, the city has depreciated by 8%. Okay? And so His Excellency is saying that you said, when your fundamentals are not right, your depreciation of the city or the exchange rate will expose you. So he's asking a very basic question. And he's saying that as at today, the city is going for 4.7. Okay? And per Bank of Ghana's own calculation, as at 13th of June, the city in this year, as at June 13th, had depreciated by 8%. Very basic question in the classroom. Is it reflecting the fundamentals? Then you go and take 1993. Go and take Kufuor 2001, 2008. I mean, you will fail on exams.
So that was Adongo. There are so many videos of Adongo dealing with Bawumia. We don't know how that has affected him or not, but Prof is going to expect a lot of this. So that's another thing, the kinds of attacks to expect. So you will be pushed to the extreme just based on the kind of things we're seeing. Can she deal with that? Bawumia has learned to deal with that pretty well. As we said, when he came on the scene initially, he was very timid, very shy. He's grown into the space. But he was younger. How can Prof transform? Some people feel she doesn't need to do that. She can just maintain her nice, no attack, dignity. Would the foot soldiers like that? When she appears before them and they want her to jab Akufo-Addo, how will she jab Akufo-Addo? What does she think about some of his policies? She has to start criticizing some of the things they do if she is to please the foot soldiers. Or will they just position her as a Miss Nice guy, using that in a very broad sense, where she's bringing a new face to Ghana politics? Will that work? Or they will need to get her to be a bit of the rough and tumble. When we come back, we'll show you 2 final videos of them, and I'll read some of your comments. Some of you agree, some of you disagree with some of the things I'm saying. And we have some interesting shots of Prof. Naana from Radio Gold, and we have another Bawumia special. This is the point of view. Stay with us.
Just not ready yet. I want to wait a little before getting pregnant again.
Stop worrying and live free. No matter who you are, Lydia has a contraceptive just for you. Choose the Lydia Daily Contraceptive Pill with iron as your regular contraceptive, or the Lydia IUD, a non-hormonal contraceptive for long-term pregnancy prevention. Contact the Lydia Contact Center and let us help you decide how to live free. With Lydia, you truly decide.
Hello, my brothers and sisters. I'm John Mahama. The Electoral Commission of Ghana is compiling a new voter register in all parts of the country, and all Ghanaians 18 years and above are eligible to register. Whether you have previously registered or voted in an election before, you must register now to be able to vote in the December 2020 elections. The time to make a change is now. Register today to vote in December and make a difference in your life and that of your family. Your vote is your voice. To be able to vote, you must register. Register now, and let's do it for Ghana.
Welcome back to The Point of View. Today we are just trying to compare what the 2 leading parties have in terms of running mates. Akufo-Addo named Bawumia as the running mate. This will be the 4th election straight, 2008, 2012, 2016, 2020. John Mahama named Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang. This is the first time she's on the ballot. Somebody says, Bernard, the man to Prof's right is Justice Kingsley Nyina. This is coming from Clement. I wish I could see the picture again, because there are 2 men on the right, but we'll see. Justice Kingsley Nyina, but you didn't tell me who Justice Kingsley Nyina is, so I don't know what to make of your comment. Here are some more comments. Good evening, Bernard. You are doing a great job. Keep it about me. Is ahead of Jane. I don't think she has anything new to add to our political landscape, because John Mahama has soiled himself with corruption. This is from Jima Anthony, Volta region. Bernard, the woman is very good in delivery, which makes her a big threat, because she can deliver and influence the public to focus on the NDC agenda. But all the same, Bawumia is hard to reach in political activities. This is from Yogo Reigns. But I think the middle class are beginning to lose faith in the NPP, because most of the things NPP and Bawumia said are instead the very things they are not doing. So this middle class will be confused between NDC and NPP. I think Naana may pull a surprise. This is from Newell. Bernard, women must stand up for this woman. This is their best chance yet to come. For many years, it should be a man and a woman on each ticket rather than a man and a northerner. This is the time to make that change. This is law from Wager. Great analysis, Bernard. You are on point on your index submission. Solomon from Dubai. And then Bernard, for me, Prof was one of the best choice among the potential people that were shortlisted for the running mate slot. You hardly hear Dr. Dufour talking about the economy to exhibit the economic prize. Let me take you to Radio Gold. I just want to show you a quick interview a journalist had with her. This is a few years after her hosting of the show, but in the same studio, just to give you a feel of her during interview settings.
I got an invitation to host a program on, I work in Cape Coast. I was living in Cape Coast. So I was wondering why me, why can't you guys find anyone from Accra?
At that time, were you lecturing?
Yes, I was a lecturer.
Okay.
The rest they say is history. But before then, I had been invited by the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation to join a few people, I think 2 other people, to do a presidential interview. Again, that's another story altogether. So maybe based on that, although it didn't come on for many reasons, I think that influenced the management of Radio Gold to request that I host the program. So I used to come every week and host the program and then return to my classes.
Was it politics? Were you talking politics mainly?
Actually, we talked many things. It was even sports, any issue that was current at the time. It was politics too. And getting to the elections, I had the privilege to interview nearly every contestant.
And of course, she would later on interview Rawlings as well. So that was Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang talking about her days at Radio Gold. Of course, that was in the 90s as well. A few interesting comments before we wrap up the show. And then, I don't know if I have time to play Bawumi. I think I've played 2 Bawumi videos, so I'll just leave it there for you. I've shown Bawumi on the campaign trail, and I've shown his wife as well. So I think I will just leave it there. I need to say a big thank you to 2 people in helping me put this together. Apart from my production team, I had special production support from guess who? On the NDC side, Okujeto Ablakwa was part of the production team for today, as was Gideon Boaku. So you can tell where they're coming from. Gideon from the Bawumi camp, Okujeto Ablakwa from the Opoku-Agyemang camp. So thanks for some of the help in putting the show together. Bernard, you look good tonight. I like the show. Thanks for bringing us this analysis. This is coming in from Palgrave. There's a very interesting comment. I'm not sure if I should read it. Somebody says, Bernard, you asked us to comment on the show, but somebody says I should tell you that you have been putting on weight since the lockdown. Barbara, thank you for this comment. He said you asked us for comments, but this one is personal. You've been putting on weight since COVID-19. Take it as a compliment. Good show, great assessment. We wish all the people in the race well. Kwamna Bonfe sent me a message and said, Bernard, you need to give CPP a chance on the show. Kwamna Bonfe, I will give you your day in court. I will give you your day in court. And the CPP will rise again like the sphinx from the ashes. Forward ever, backward never. Thank you, Kwamna Bonfe, for watching the show. My name is Bernard Avle. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you learned something. And this has been The Point of View. We'll be with you again next time. Stay with City TV. Bye-bye.
Point of View is powered by Airtel Tigo Extra. Even our bonus data doesn't expire. You the film? Dial *111# to activate now. Airtel Tigo. Life is simple. And Lydia Contraceptive.